Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading. I'm your host, Jason Blitman, and it has been a weird and devastating week with the ongoing fires in LA. I know for sure that my mind has been with friends and loved ones there who are suffering an unimaginable loss in all sorts of ways. And I know it's been distracting and hard to read, and there's a lot happening in the world right now, and it's only the beginning of January, and it's a lot to handle. And so I hope that you are taking care of yourselves, and we're all sort of in this together, and whatever we can all do for each other. If anyone needs to talk to anyone, my DMs are open, and I hope that you are doing all right, because it's hard right now. If you are looking for ways to help and give back to those who are dealing with losses in Los Angeles, there are links to resources in the show notes. And so you can find some ways to help there. While it has been super hard to read, books have also been a solace and an escape. So if you've had some time, I hope that you have had a moment to sort of get away mentally as well. And today's guest and her book is no exception. Today I'm talking to the terrific Kate Fagan about her book, The 3 Lives of Kate K. It has been all over the place. It is a Reese's book club pick. It is Target's book club pick. It is a book of the month selection for this month. And so it feels like Kate's book is inescapable as well. She's super cool. And the guest gay reader today is Kathryn Budig, who is a yogi. She has her own book imprint, and she also is Kate Fagan's wife. And so she's a really cool and exciting guest gay reader for today. Both of their bios are in the show notes. If you are new to Gaze Reading, it's worth sharing that you could follow us on social media at Gaze Reading on Instagram. You can also like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are everywhere, including YouTube. You could watch all of these interviews over on YouTube. And if you're so inclined to leave us a review, it is always super helpful with the algorithm to help other people find Gaze Reading. So with all that said, weird times, here we are. But I hope that this can be a little bit of an escape for you. And please enjoy my conversation with Kate Fagan and then with Kathryn. Welcome to Gaze Reading. I am so excited to talk to you about your book. First and foremost, for our listeners who have not read it yet, and they certainly haven't because this comes out, or maybe they have because it comes out a week after Pub Day. So maybe people have read it and they've devoured it in a week. For those who haven't, what is your elevator pitch for the book?
Okay, so it's basically The 3 Lives of Kate K is about our main character, Kate K, who is the most famous author in the world. Except Kate K is a pseudonym and nobody has ever known the real person behind this famous trilogy of books until she releases her memoir. And this is her memoir. That's my elevator pitch. What do you think?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. And listeners, I will say, don't read the blurb, don't read the back of the book. Just know it is a propulsive page turner, and you don't want to know anything else about it other than read it.
Yeah. I feel like that would be true because I feel like trying to figure out how to market this book was tricky only because there are elements of suspense and it's thriller-ish because there's a missing identity. But if people really love consuming thrillers, like Gone Girl level thrillers, then this is not exactly the right book. And so if you read track, you might have expectations for one thing, and then it is something totally different.
Super fair. I appreciate an author who is self-aware and knows the product that they're delivering. It is not Gone Girl, but I will actually say, and we don't need to get into the weeds about this because I want to talk more about the book. It is. I've never really read a book like this. It's like a dash of oral history, a dash of thriller, a dash of romance, all like a dash of Hollywood story, all mixed together, and it like produced something that I feel like I've never read. Anyway, it's that's that I will say that, and then if people really need to read the back of the book, they can.
Yeah.
This happens in the first chapter. We learn that Kate K's original name is Annie, and identity plays a huge part of the book and what it means to have something of our own. And I'm curious if you think this story can be Annie's, even if she's mostly owning it as Kate. Can it be Annie's story?
Yeah, I think I'm not pretending that some things I'm going to say now, I knew when I was writing it, right? Just to be clear. But I do
Yeah.
think that on the backside of writing it, I don't think it's Annie's story. I definitely think it's Kate K's story.
Yeah.
Because she's Kate K, who is the famous author. She's a front-facing entity that is Annie, and you'll learn more about her. But Kate K is very much trying to both tell a very honest, well-rounded story, but maintain control of her story. So in that way, it's not really Annie's story.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. It makes me think about like, the Marilyn Monroes of the world. What was her name? Like Mary Sue or like Betty
Right.
Jean?
Yes.
Something like that.
Yep.
Oh, the gays are going to come for me.
Yeah. The fact that you don't know that, and I also don't know that.
She left her old life behind and now she's Marilyn Monroe, right? So then that's the end of Annie's story is when Kate K's story begins, right? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I think that it's more maybe
Norma
like
Jean.
Norma Jean. Of course, it's Norma Jean. Of course, it is. That's so bad.
Whew, okay, just need to get that out there.
Yes, Kate K is the persona that allows Annie to not really hide behind, but become some version of herself that she couldn't be as like this small lake town kid growing up, something like that.
So speaking of small lake town and growing up, there are moments that Kate talks about in the story that she calls blueprint memories, moments in her life that helped her see and understand the life that was then constructed following that moment. Do you have any blueprint memories?
Yeah, some of them are probably in the book because and one of them is similar to a moment that KK goes through in the book that I remember. This is just so cheesy that it's embarrassing, but I'll just say that I was obsessed with Home Alone, and I was obsessed with Macaulay Culkin. I think we're exactly the same age.
Okay.
So whatever age he is in Home Alone, that's the age I was when Home Alone came out. And I remember like riding my bike and just being like, I need to go to Los Angeles and be a star like Macaulay Culkin. And feeling like the expanse of the world right then of that. Like, it was the first time I had seen the vastness of the world and like what I could become all through fucking Home Alone and Macaulay Culkin. And so I think that I wouldn't have said that now, but I think about that moment. I wouldn't have said that then, but I think about that moment and have ever since it happened.
So it's like a reflected blueprint memory, right? You like think back on it and you're like, oh, that changed the trajectory of.
That's what Kate K is doing, right?
Yeah,
She would say it's a blueprint moment because it's the first moment when ambition kind of became a central pillar of her life.
I remember I didn't want to be Macaulay Culkin, but I was obsessed with the creativity behind the booby traps. And I like loved the idea of a creative booby trap. And I like remember wanting to be able to do that in my own home.
Wow, yeah. They're like the original Rube Goldberg machine. Sorry.
Yes, like the game Mousetrap.
Yeah. Yep. There was like they were so creatively planned and so masterful with the home items they used to do each of those. I feel like I liked those more when I was older. So kudos to you for like at the time being like, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I was like, okay, how can I fashion my home to keep me safe from burglars? So Annie becomes Kate K. Annie, growing up, has her best friend in the whole world, Amanda. Do you have an Amanda? Did you have an Amanda?
No, I didn't. I did
Mm,
not. I have a best friend now, and I have had super close friends like her in my adult life, but never as a kid.
mm.
And so I thought it would be fun to create that energy,
Like,
because
wrote the Amanda that you needed.
yeah, because I mean, obviously had girls on my basketball team growing up that like I had a crush on, and I didn't understand what it was, but like we weren't
Hmm.
friends. They were just people in school or that I had casual relationships with. So I thought, wow, I'm gonna build out like a beautiful friendship, but then one that has this, I guess, you could consider it a fatal flaw baked
So you talk about having crushes on girls on your basketball team. There's a moment in the book where Annie and her mother, where out of the blue, her mom talks about dykes that she walked in on at the motel that she cleans, and she speaks about them very disparagingly. Did you have a moment like that in your life? Was that sort of pulled?
Oh yeah, for nothing like that, but
Yeah.
growing up playing basketball, especially in a time before our current age of openness in the WNBA.
Mm,
This was back at a time when no women's college basketball coach was out. Women's players would never talk about sexuality at all. And yeah, being inside that world, people would always be like, I've heard that team has a bunch of dykes on it. That kind of
mm.
thing would be said all of the time. And I didn't want this book, The Three Lives of Kay, to be like a coming out sob story book. I just feel like that's not what our current moment needs. But I didn't want to write a book and not, at least as you're reading it, you could, I think, you could read this book in 2024 and completely forget that being gay in any capacity was a huge struggle not that long ago.
Hmm.
And I wanted at least one scene in the book that placed people back in, I think it was about 1999 when that scene takes place, just to be like, hey, don't forget. Don't forget
There
where.
was adversity. Yeah. No, I totally get that. It is not a coming out story. It is not a queer trauma story, but that doesn't mean that there were not hurdles and struggles
That's
throughout
right.
her
That's
life.
right.
Annie and Amanda, in their youth, find moments where it makes them feel adult. There are things that they're doing, whether it's interacting with their drama teacher or something, that they finally feel like they're adults. Were there moments in your life where you felt particularly adult? And I don't even know what it means
Yeah.
as an adult, in quotation marks. I don't even know what it means to be an adult. What does
Yeah.
that mean to you
I'll
these
let you know when I
days?
get there.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe I would have said I felt like an adult in that moment. I'm not in these moments I'm talking about, but I think more so I just remember it as like a flash of electricity. And this would be like if the first time a couple older teammates picked me up and I sat in the back seat of a car with like music, their choice of music playing.
Hmm.
And maybe in that moment, I'm like, I don't know that I thought I was an adult. I just thought, oh my God, different energy. All I've ever done is be in a car with two parents. And now I'm in a car with people like my age. So I
Yeah.
think, and I remember how like all encompassing those moments were like what maybe smaller rites of passage than the ones we talk about. The first car ride you ever take with a friend. And I wanted to like, I remember so distinctly those moments in my childhood and growing up, and I wanted their friendship to have a lot of those moments because I feel like people would relate to the nostalgia and the just the shock of like new experience that can happen within somebody.
Yeah, I really appreciate the idea of smaller rites of passage, because I think that I don't even think I realized how many of those I had as a young adult. It was like, yeah, it was transformative for me to perform at the local community theater where I was the only person under the age of 20 in the room. Or the first time I was where a friend is the one who drove or picked me up. Or somewhat recently, I was walking around my neighborhood and I heard someone uh, honk their car horn in someone's driveway, that they were like there to pick someone up. And I was like, how retro.
Wow, I love that. Love that. Yeah, all the things we used to do, and they meant something. They meant something
Yeah.
specific, like a little double beep, like,
I'm here. Get out. It's time to come hang out.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't really think about those moments. Were you a theater kid?
No, I wasn't at all.
Oh, interesting. I say that because
Yeah.
there's a lot of theatricality in the book.
Yeah, I was all all basketball all the time. That's all I
Mhm.
did until I was like 24. But my wife was a theater kid and went and majored in theater at UVA and lived in LA for a couple of years. And it was like, no, thank you to that. But I think the book is infused with a lot of that. There's a
Uh-huh.
lot of questions where I was like, hey, Kathryn, that's my wife. I was like, in this one play, what is do? And so I think she helped me with a lot of that. But I'm obsessed with the idea of theater, movies, acting. Obviously, it started with Home Alone, and it's not something
Mhm.
I would be good at. I just don't think I could lose the level of the self awareness you need to lose to be good at acting. But I really I'm obsessed with writing about that world.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I just can't decide what I think somebody wants when they go to become an actor. Like, there's just so many things to explore about like how they see themselves, how they want the world to see them, like what their ambitions are, how they're telling
Mhm.
themselves, how they're dealing with worshiping. You have to be an actor. You have to worship things that don't last. There's no way they're gonna last. Just it's all
Mhm.
very fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it's like there are so many angles too. It's fame, it's vanity, it's storytelling, it's a mix of all of the above. Some people
Mhm.
go into it because they want to be famous. Some people go into it because they have a passion for telling a story. How did this book come to be for you?
I had been trying to write fiction for a long time and it just never seemed to work. I have a lot of 4 or 5 manuscripts that just were not good and started a bunch more and abandoned them. Then when I was starting out this project, I decided to just write it as a fake memoir because I had published memoirs. And I just was like, I really was okay, something about the voice of a memoir I seem to get. I
Mm,
understand the point of view, I understand the insights I'm trying to convey in that type of framework. And so I was like, I am just gonna give myself the smoothest little on ramp here, and I'm gonna write this story as if it's a fake memoir. I didn't think that structure would last.
hmm.
I just thought it was a way to find the character, and then I would retroactively remove that framework. But when I did do that and like the book fell apart a little bit,
Mm,
so I put it back in the fake memoir framework. So starting out with it, like the starting out on ramp was like, this is gonna be a fake memoir. And then I was just trying to think of a premise I would love. And
mm.
I love the premise of who is Elena Ferrante. I love that.
Yes.
I love imagining that we never knew who Stephen King was, like that he was like the Bitcoin founder. That kind of framework seemed like something I would be really interested in reading. And then there were like a couple more like movies from my past or books I had read that had really stuck with me. And I tried to figure out what I liked about them and incorporate that into this book.
It's funny you say that because in reading it, I was like, I wonder if Elena Ferrante is going to come out after this book comes out.
That'd be quite a result for me, I think.
I was like, is this a blueprint for us to out Elena Ferrante?
Go.
Quick, someone call, what was his name? Jake? Someone call Jake.
Yeah, Jake Fish.
Um, so there's a quote in the book. The thing about writing is that it's unlike other creative endeavors. It's not about you. It's only about the story and the words. To be an actor or musician, you must perform. You're reading on yourself, but not the writer. Most readers don't even consider the author. Do you think that's true? Do you believe that? Do you feel that?
I think at the time that was really true. As in when she was saying that in 2000, I think there was maybe like 3 authors you would actually see on the street and know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want it to be true, it can be true. I don't think a lot of people know who Emily Henry is if they ran into her.
But even, sure, it's like running into someone on the street, but to think, I thought a lot about you when I was reading the book. Even if we weren't talking to each other, right? There are these elements of, oh, I wonder what Kate experienced, or does Kate really feel this way about authors, right? So I was like, quote unquote, considering the author, but that doesn't mean I would necessarily know who you were if I ran into you on the street.
If I've made myself closer to this book than a lot of authors make themselves to books, because even though it's entirely a work of fiction, besides all of the ways authors put themselves into books, my name's Kate. The star, the main character of the book is Kate. It's a memoir. I have written memoirs. I think maybe as the author of this, and it's like a very meta book. Then Kate K within the book is writing a book, and you see what Kate K is putting into the book she's writing. And you may just naturally wonder, what did Kate put into?
What's Kate Fagan doing? Yeah.
So maybe I did put myself pretty close to this book, but I think if you wanted it to be true, you could maybe make it as true as Kate tries to believe it is in the book.
Yeah. I was just thinking a lot about you. I guess maybe it's because I'm a creative person too, that I know the work doesn't start and end with the final product.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes me think about, how did someone get here? Pies play a role in the book. Are you a pie connoisseur yourself?
I do not consider myself a pie connoisseur, but
oh my God, you're killing me, Kate.
No, but I think it takes a turn. Pie is not my dessert of choice usually, but I lived for 3 years next door to 4 and 20 Blackbirds in Brooklyn, which is a famous pie shop in Brooklyn, and they have a cookbook. And I got really into pie when I lived there, because if you have the very best version of pie, then you understand it. But I think that, as well as I love key lime pie. There's nothing I want more than key lime pie. Or not even whatever form it's in. If it's like a little tiny version of it, little cup of it, like whatever form you want to put key lime pie in, I want to consume it. So all of that made its way into the book.
I also love key lime pie. And so was salivating at the key lime pie references that appear in the book. There's a key lime pie, or a pie place, that I think is known for their key lime in Red Hook.
Yeah, I've never been.
It's like next to the IKEA. Do you still live in Brooklyn?
No, I live in Charleston now, South Carolina. Yeah.
I'm going to look right now so that next time you go and visit Brooklyn,
I'll make my way to Red Hook.
Yeah.
I'll take the ferry.
Okay, it's literally called Steve's Authentic Key Lime Pie.
Okay, I feel like I've had this. I feel like I've had it.
It's like a little shack.
Yeah. I don't think I've been there, but I feel like they sold them in certain...
Oh, it's very possible.
Yeah, in certain stores. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. But I should probably go to the original...
The OG
establishment,
location.
the brick and mortar. Yeah.
Oh, they literally have keylime.com.
Good
for Steve.
Yeah.
Good for Steve
Wow.
and his authentic key lime pie. Okay, so much of this book is about shame. I think the memoir, was probably written because of shame and getting through shame. I don't want to speak for Kate K, but that's part of what I was getting from reading the book. At some point, there's a conversation about how shame has gotten infected. What does shame getting infected mean to you?
I think that there's like low levels of hum of shame that we can all, like, and probably many of us do live with. And then you may go through a certain period where somebody says some specific thing, or you have to see some specific person, or it's like an anniversary of something. And I think it's almost like whatever is living inside of you feels like it bubbles up and is like haunting you and keeping you awake kind of feeling. And that's what I meant by that in this book. It just felt like at certain points, the things she had done and the decisions she had made would really rear their heads.
What do you think a remedy for that is? Or do you have a remedy for that? If you feel shame getting infected?
I usually write about it. In that I had the last book I wrote was a memoir. It was called All the Colors Came Out, and it was about my dad who had taught me basketball, and then he was diagnosed and died of ALS. It was like the process of dealing with a lot of my shame about decisions I had made to pull away from him, about even the smallest thing, like this pair of sneakers he'd gotten me that I never wore. And I felt like writing that book helped me like put it out, and then also realize that in almost all of the ways I was feeling like a devastating amount of shame, it was really just human decisions that every single person can relate to. And all of that helped take it back down to just like that kind of like regret that can bubble up sometimes. And so I think it's not lost on me that in the book, Kate K's solution to trying to get some of that out of her is to pour them into a book. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think about, there's a fantastic memoir, oddly enough, called The Many Lives of Mama Love by a woman named Laura Love Hardin. She is a former guest of Gaze Reading. But similarly, it's a book very much about shame and how it's worked through and through the many lives that she lived. And so it was, for this to be the 3 lives of Kate
Yes.
K, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a very interesting, the parallel for me of the sort of shame permeating its way through our various quote unquote lives was just an interesting parallel for me. Yeah. There's, I would say, a major plot point or a major like thematic point in the book is like misjudgment, misunderstanding. Is there anything from your life that you feel like you misjudged or saw in a perspective that was different than what it was supposed to be, and it like reared its head on you, came back to haunt you, something that you were overthinking where you really didn't need to be?
Yeah. There's nothing in my life that's I misjudged so badly. And then also there's some twist of fate have paid the price for that misjudgment. So I have nothing in my life where I'm pulling from to inspire this book, where I feel like one of my misjudgments, the universe also pounced on it and in a different direction.
Yeah.
Happens here. But I have moments certainly where I have hypothesized, well, if I know I misjudged and that I didn't handle correctly and has not had a lasting implication, but very clearly could have if one other variable had been different. And so I think that's definitely what I'm playing with in one of the central kind of like switch points of the book is that profound misjudgment then also being exposed by the universe in a really like life altering way.
Yeah, I think it also had me thinking, just as the reader, when do I maybe dig my heels in a little too hard, or when do I take something a little too seriously is not the right word, but really at face value and not think beyond information that I'm given. Again, I'm like dancing around
Yeah.
specifics because I don't want to give too much away.
No, okay, because you can if you want to.
No, I don't
Okay.
want to.
Okay.
But yeah, the concept of being told one thing, thinking something, and that thing not being true ultimately is, and that happening for your life is very challenging.
Oh,
And
yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah. Okay. See, there's 2 things. We're almost talking about 2 separate things
I'm
because
sure.
there's
There are so many things in this book I don't want to spoil.
there's like the fundamental misjudgment that Annie makes early in her life about who Amanda is and who they can be to each other and how that can play for the rest of their life. And then there's a very profound, more nefarious moment where then
Yeah.
Kate believes something
Yeah.
that alters her life.
There are lots of nuggets. That's why I said it's like almost a big theme throughout the book, whether big and little. It's both like misjudgments, overthinking, not thinking rationally, not seeing big picture. And again, as the reader, had me thinking throughout my own life and moving forward, what are those things that I'm doing for myself? There's a character who goes through scenarios in their mind, and all roads lead to the outcome that has already happened. I'm like speaking in tongues because I don't want to give anything away. The idea basically that someone picks 100 different paths to go down and realizes that they all end up leading to the same place. Do you think we could change our fate?
I have I've been feeling more and more like the last couple of years that like I don't have as much control over I don't have as much free will as I thought I did.
Why is that new for you?
I've been reading a lot of books on like consciousness and those types of principles. I don't know how it's like my new obsession. Um and so I think I've been thinking a lot more. Wait, tell me the question again. I want to make sure I stay on track.
Yeah.
You get lost in
Do you think we could change our fate?
I feel like I wish I was like a really articulate philosopher right now because like it seems to me in every small move I take that like something about it feels like I always had to take that choice. And I feel like that both in the small decisions, like me going to get coffee with a friend in an hour, and the big decisions. And I think I've less and less felt like my world can be anything I want it to be, but yet that doesn't stop me from trying to have as much control over my life as possible. But I don't have any, that's just how I feel over the last
Right.
few years. But obviously, I I'm not sure exactly how that worked its way into this book, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking more even just personally.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it's for me, I'll make a decision about something, it'll happen, and then whether it was the right choice or the wrong choice, that choice was supposed to be made regardless, which I think is almost, I don't want to say healthier, because then it's harder to have regrets, and like regrets, how useful are regrets and all of that. I guess that's maybe part of the interesting question, right? It's not healthy to regret things. Or is it healthy?
I don't think it's healthy to regret things as long as you've rectified certain behavioral mistakes that you've made that like your earlier regrets actually did hurt people, or depends what those regrets are. But I feel like if you're somebody who like, you're not going to have regret over a decision that you truly came to with confidence and empathy. And then the regret afterward is, I'm not sure that's serving you. So I guess it's, if you've reached a place in your life, I feel like where you've processed some of the regret where maybe you were the antagonist in that situation, then you move forward to a better place where you don't need to you don't need to like give the regret life. Because it's always going to be there in some way, but you don't need to like feed it. I like, whenever regret pops up for me, I try to say, not only is that not good for me, I don't even think that person wants that for me.
That's a good way to think about it, for sure. Okay, you just said something about wishing you were an eloquent philosopher, articulate philosopher, whatever you said. You'll feel this way again when I ask you this question. But what does cosmic bigness mean to you?
Yeah, it's a big theme in the book about how Kate K just feels like she's infused with this need to have cosmic bigness. So what it means to me is just a piece of my personality, or I don't know if it was hardwired into me when I was born. And I think a percentage of people can relate to like just wanting everything, just feeling like they want to be like as much as they can have of life they want. And a lot of that is manifesting in ambition, like wanting to be successful, needing that sort of like earthly achievement vibe. I tried a lot of different phrases to capture the feeling because I feel it a lot and I don't always love it. And I have a complicated relationship with it. But ultimately, like the best way to capture that energy, the best way to capture all of that to me was like cosmic bigness. Because you want something, it's not like earthly bigness, right? Because that feels too tethered. It's something more than that. It feels like it comes from somewhere else. Do you relate to that or not?
I do, but it's overwhelming. It's not dissimilar from Can We Change Our Fate? It's there. I have such a love-hate relationship with the phrase "everything happens for a reason," because I think that is is a phrase that people use to justify tragedy and make people feel better when terrible things happen. It's not dissimilar from a bird pooping on you and someone saying, "Oh, that's good luck." No, it's not good luck. You just say that because it makes the fact that a bird pooped on you easier to tolerate. I think that for me, I've had too many weird, fortuitous things happen in like weird sequential orders that I like have to believe in cosmic bigness and that there is a greater something happening in the cosmos that is not as grounded as Earth bigness. That's what it meant to me when I was reading that phrase and thinking about, yeah, it's not quote unquote everything happening for a reason. It's just cosmically things are moving in this way.
Yes. Kind of back to consciousness, if you get, but no, but like a joint consciousness, but
Yeah.
cosmos. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. Cosmosness. To that end, there's a conversation about finality being this scary thing and avoiding endings. And it's so funny because for me, I, on one hand, couldn't put this book down, and on the other hand, didn't want to keep picking it back up because if I picked it back up, that meant that it was going to end soon. Then I like wanted to keep learning about Kate's story, but I had to finish it to talk to you today. But I like didn't want to, and it made me think about when I was a kid, I'd read the last page of a book first because I don't know, I had this like morbid thing of like, God forbid something happens to me or the book or whatever, and I like won't get to the ending. I like want to know how it ends. And of course, reading the last page or the last paragraph or whatever, it would never mean anything to me. Yeah. But I was definitely feeling some sort of way about the book finishing. And I think some of it is because I wanted Kate to be okay. And I'll leave it at that.
Sure. I'm really glad that you wanted to keep reading but didn't want it to end. I think I feel like the ending of books are just really, well, I guess endings are really hard, but in general, I feel like the ending in a book is you can't give everybody what they want, but you also, it's the simplest way I can explain how like writing the ending to this book felt, because I wanted to give people as much as that I could give them of the end. There was an earlier ending to this book that like is a lot less. Like because I just felt like I feel like I'd told everybody so much, and like my writing of it didn't feel like my writing of the ending felt like it was always going to pale in comparison to what you might imagine to be, whether it's like the moment you want for her. And so I was like, I guess this is all me giving a therapy session now, like how deeply I struggled with the end of this book for lots of reasons. Like one was I didn't want to write more because I was like, every time I finished a chapter that was like an end chapter, and I was like, phew, I made it through that without fucking it up. And then if an editor was like, I think we need a scene from so-and-so's point of view, I'd be like, no, that's just more chance for me to fuck this up. So just every time I got through a chapter, I was like, we should be done, because I don't think I can keep writing this in a way that's going to satisfy people or even come close to what I hope they can feel if they filled in the gaps themselves. Toyed around with it a lot.
That makes me think of a not plot device per se, but there's a game that Annie and Amanda play in the book that I don't know if I'm calling this universe games or if they call it universe games, but I will call it universe games. The idea is, I think the example in the book is if they walk into the diner and if the person's or the pizza place and the guy says hi, they'll order a cheese pizza. But if the guy says anything other than hi, then they're going to order a pepperoni pizza. And it almost sounds like what you're describing is this universe game. If an editor says you have to do this thing, then that means you're going to have to then tell the story from this direction or whatever. Do you play universe games?
I do play universe games. That's for sure. I try to do it less and less, but yeah. I think there's definitely pieces of Kate K that I relate to, and one of them is just the pure release of giving over a choice to the universe, or just like as a way to distract yourself, or just as a way to give into whatever kind of like spinning thoughts you have. I think the whole universe game thing, we definitely added more and more of it into the book, because once it first made an appearance, it felt like the kind of thing that you should probably draw through
Yeah.
and have the character like use in ways to make choices. So that kind of wormed its way into the book. Like initially it was just like, oh, I'm going to humor myself by putting one universe game in just to scratch an itch that like, hey, anybody that's out there that does crazy shit like this, you're going to feel seen in this interaction. And then it went from there.
Yeah. Is there like one in particular that comes to mind for you, like in your real life that you've played?
It's usually a form of counting for me. It might be like, if seriously something like so nuanced as a kid, like driving past the threshold of a graveyard and like seeing how many times I could like rhythmically tap my foot. If I get to 20, then I'm safe. So it might be something just so simple as that. And then that occupies my mind for the next couple minutes. I'm very invested in it. And
Yeah.
it's a game. Something as simple as that, I probably did every car ride as a kid, which not necessarily the best, being everything will be okay if you get to 20, because I'm not sure what the downside of that was going to be.
Yeah, no, I think I would do that too, but I never had like, a negative thing, right? So I would, the first thing that comes to mind is the first car that I had, there was a digital speedometer. And if I was pulling up to a red light, my goal would be to not let the speedometer get down to 0.
You guys,
Yeah. But obviously there would be no cars around me where I wouldn't play with a car behind me. But yeah, that was the first thing that comes to mind. But right, if I hit 0, I didn't have
right.
then something bad would happen. But I would play a version of that game.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Those are, I can see myself playing that exact game. In fact, now I will.
I know it's funny because I grew up and drove and then lived for a very long time in cities where I didn't need to drive, and now I'm driving again. And so every once in a while I do find myself doing it. And I was like, oh, this is really funny, tapping into a younger version of Jason.
Yep.
Julia Roberts in Notting Hill was Annie's let's call it the Ring of Keys moment. What was Kate's?
I mean, probably that. I feel like I'm one of those authors who, this is not a memoir. Well,
no. You're truly not alone. Everyone is like, this is nothing about me, but every single detail comes from my life.
Yes. No, I was obsessed with Julia Roberts in Notting Hill. Could not figure out what was going on. Because I wasn't sure then like what it all meant. I knew deep down what it meant, but like on the surface, it was like I just allowed myself to watch that movie and not stress about what it might mean for me, who I might need to tell about this, and just let myself just enjoy watching her in that movie. So yes, definitely not Julia Roberts.
I think that's a good answer. I went to London one time and I had to go to Notting Hill because I love the movie so much that I just like.
Was that bookstore there?
Yes. And I want to say I didn't go in, but I took a picture of the plaque outside.
And you have it still, I'm sure.
I don't know why I didn't go in. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Do you shower after a flight?
Yes. Do you shower after a flight?
I do.
Do you know people who don't? Or so far my data point is like 4 people have, and 1 person was confused by the question. But they were foreign. Not that, I just mean like different cultural norms.
Sure. It's interesting. I will say I got home from a flight the other day and I didn't immediately go into the shower, but I, within a reasonable time of getting home, took a shower.
Yeah, I will say I usually don't get home from flights too early, but I don't think it's like I need to shower immediately, but I will not get into bed after a flight without showering. There's no way, no how.
No.
Yeah.
This is contextual for the book. If you could tell young Kate Fagan one piece of advice, what would it be?
I'm not sure anything would help young Kate, but probably the biggest thing I feel like affects young version of me's enjoyment of life is just like a distinct lack of patience for everything, like always needing to be where they're not. I would say still deal with that just from on a day-to-day basis. I'm always like, I'm not the person who, when they stay over at a friend's house, if they're leaving the next day, I'm not like lingering. We're not like doing eggs and hanging out. We're not like going to take a walk. It's, oh no, I have a transition I'm going through today to go home. It's happening immediately. And I feel like that is so young me, like, and I've gotten a lot better at it, trying to be like actually present for the in-between moments. But I would definitely tell young Kate to get a head start on that because it's not the best it's not an asset at all.
And again, that is a question that gets asked in the book.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And somehow relates to me.
And finally, I have to know, what are, if there are, other lives that Kate Fagan lives?
Oh, this is one where I don't really feel. I guess I will say that I think one thing that comes out in the book, but I didn't intend to do this, is that you really see Kate K's lives through, and they happen to be decades. You really get to see her friendship with Amanda growing up, and then the relationship she falls into for a period of time in that next chunk of her life. And then you get to see her as she, at least from a society perspective, succeeds. And I think I look back on my life and I'm like, sometimes like, what have I even done with my life? And then I'm like, when I was 30, I was living in Philadelphia and I was working for this newspaper. And I'm like, a lot has happened in this 10 years. Or then I go back to when I was 20. And so I feel like there's a whole part of my life where I was like a basketball player and that's all I cared about. And I don't even know who that person is anymore. I think even though the plot points are a lot less dramatic than in Kate K's life, I very much relate to the concept of there being versions of me. And I truly cannot understand what they were feeling and thinking and how they like lived that certain way, whether it was like a person they were dating or just like loving a thing that I no longer love.
Yeah. That's interesting. It made me think too about the multiple lives that Kate K lives. So much of them are about self-preservation and protection. And I think it had me thinking about just the lives that we can live and how it's okay that we all live multiple lives, whether they're for protection or not. And we could just go through our time in this cosmic bigness space as all of the things that come our way. I've said many times, my background is in theater. I was a theater kid my whole life, and now I'm a book person. And the theater life feels so far away. And it's okay that we evolve and grow and change. And I think it's okay for Kate K to evolve and grow and change too.
I hope so. I really hope that readers leave. It's been a surprise to me that not everybody loves her, which is so strange considering some of her choices. But I always thought she was pretty lovable. And I do. That is the hope I have for readers, is that they see this book as filled with love and not just like messiness, because those two things seem pretty intertwined to me.
Yeah. She does say in her first chapter that she's worried people are going to be mad at her or aren't going to like her for the things she has to say. So I can see why people might be frustrated with her.
It's possible.
Or disappointed, and it's interesting because I feel like to have such strong feelings toward a fictional character, you almost have to like them to some degree to care that much.
Yeah. You have to relate to them on some level if you're not invested in the things that they say and do. So yeah, that's good.
Oh my God. Well, Kate Fagan, congratulations. The 3 Lives of Kate K. I couldn't put it down and yet wanted to put it down, but simply because I didn't want it to end.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Jason. Okay.
Because, as I'm sure you have
This is the best content right here. This is the good stuff.
This is the good stuff. How you doing today?
I'm really stressed out, if we're being completely honest. I had shoulder surgery on Monday. Yeah.
Tell me more. What's going on?
About everything. I like my bursa, my rotator cuff. I have 2 tears. They have to reattach my bicep tendon. It's going to be like a deli shop. It's going to be bad.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. A step towards healing. Instead of just being in pain, at least it's like the step towards healing.
I was actually going to say, at least there is something to be done.
Yes. So it's going to be good. It's going to suck, and then it'll be good. It has to get worse before it gets better or something like that. I don't know.
Do you have your TBR pile?
Oh my God. Yes. And I'm a little concerned because am I going to be like
holding?
How do I hold a book with one hand?
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe I'm gonna have to put stuff on my Kindle, but I only have 10 million books that I need to read. So I'm gonna
of course.
try to take this opportunity to finally catch up. Not how you thought we'd start this podcast, was it?
I never know how I'm going to start the podcast. So this is like
Uh,
both exactly how I thought and not at the same time.
You're welcome.
I'm excited for you. Everything is going to be totally fine. Oh, I'm a glass half full optimistic person, which is maybe a bad thing, especially in a
No,
time
I
like
need
this.
that. I actually could use that because everyone I've spoken to who's had the surgery, they're like, "Oh my god, it sucks. It's so bad." So,
It probably does suck, and it probably is so
right.
bad, but I, like, have tendinitis in my knee, I have tendinitis in my thumb, I get gout, and there are only so many
Okay.
things that can help with those things, so
Yeah.
if I knew that I had to have, like, terrible surgery that I had to get through in order to never have those pains again, I would do it.
Yes. Yes.
So, I'm, like, very much on board, everything's gonna be great, but, like, in a year, and then it'll be behind you.
It,
It's gonna really suck, but
when you
we are
get a
we are
text
here for
message
you.
from your new BFF, aka me, being like, "Tell me optimistic things again." Although
I'm
it'll
like,
be with one hand, I'll be punching
or talk to type. That's what talk to type is for.
I
Yes. Oh my God. As Kate is like slowly reading books to you.
know. Slow down.
I know. I don't understand the words you're saying. Okay. Kathryn, thank you for being my guest gay reader today. Welcome to Gay's Reading.
So honored.
This happens all the time where I like start kibitzing and then forget to introduce the person. This is one of those moments. You're all over the place. I'm obsessed with you. You have inspired me greatly. And I say that like within the last 24 hours of me consuming your content. I say this because you are a yogi with a huge platform championing body positivity and not health, but mental health in relation to who you are as a human. You have this fabulous platform called House of Phoenix that is this poo-poo platter of all the things that one
Yes.
might need to consume in their lives that has also transformed into Inky Phoenix, which is your book imprint. You are a writer, but I think my favorite thing about you is that you are at your core, in your heart and soul, a musical theater girly.
Oh, yes. Yes. Wow, you dug deep. I'm here for it.
Yes. That is also my background is in theater. So
What was your signature role? What was,
well,
come on, what was it? What was the dream
so
role?
I've transformed into uh producer and director, but for my whole life and still to this day, if somebody offered me this role, I would say, get me back on stage yesterday. And that is Captain Hook and Peter Pan.
Oh my God. Yes, I did not see that coming, and I love that. Oh,
100% get me on the stage, cut off my hand.
yes. Have a
I'm there.
little crocodile following you around all the time, feeling stressed
Yes.
out. Oh, love that.
What about you? What was your role? What was the thing?
Oh, Sally Bowles, baby. That was like the pinnacle. Getting to play Sally was, oh, just like I finally got to, my inner hot mess became my outer hot mess. And it was a highlight. It was an absolute highlight.
That's amazing. So you've played Sally Bowles. Do you have a dream role? Again, you're not in musical theater anymore, but
I
if someone
know
said,
that I could
Kathryn, we
play.
want you to play this
Oh,
role, what would you
what?
do?
Okay, I was of the era when Rent was just the show. I was obsessed. I'm a little white girl, so I can't play Mimi, but oh my God, Mimi. I just love that character
You're
so
also like
much.
really giving Maureen.
Okay, that's where I was going next.
Yeah.
And like being the gay bee that I am, I feel like I could really lean into that and give my heart and soul. I don't know, just honestly, any role in Rent would have just been a dream come true. I can't ever get that out of my soul. I love that.
Okay. I love this for you. I'm very much on
Mhm.
this journey for you. Things that you didn't know you were going to talk about today.
No, no, I love it. It's like past life conversations.
So before we talk about other things and more things that you're doing, because you are my guest gay reader, Kathryn, I have to ask, what are you reading?
I am currently reading Sister Snake is what
Oh,
I'm
uh-huh.
reading, and it's by Amanda Lee Coe.
Co.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's this reimagining about this famous myth of the white snake and these two women who find a way to transform themselves, two snakes that find a way to transform themselves into women. And I love a mythological reimagining. That is my absolute favorite. Cersei, Madeline Miller is at the top of my pantheon. Anyone who can take a story that everyone knows and give it that fresh spin. And I am just devouring this. Amanda is such a great writer. It's queer and modern and a little uneasy and sexy. And it's fantastic and probably going to be the next Inky Phoenix pick. You heard it here first.
For your
So,
book club.
yeah, reading. And then I'm reading so many manuscripts. That's the problem because I have an imprint now. And it's the end of the year where you collect your little pile of all the books you read, and everyone's, I read more than you. I've read so many books, but no one else has read them because they're manuscripts. I'm just not reading published books as much as I want to. I'm absolutely loving that. I am super, super pumped about the E. Schwab's toxic lesbian vampire book.
Vampires.
Oh my
know,
God, all of my buzzwords. And I have an arc upstairs, and it is like a thick boy. So that one I'm saving because I don't think that comes out until June. But I love
it's a June.
Victoria. She's a
Yeah.
phenomenal human. Speak of someone who like does it all. She's I read 30 books and wrote 100,000 words and blah, 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 and it's only like Wednesday.
I know.
And then I just picked up this one. Have you read this one yet?
No, A Dark and Drowning Tide. Tell me
Yes.
more.
This was recommended. I did a roundup at the end of the year for Inky Phoenix, and Ava Reed recommended this one, author of Lady Macbeth, and also Susan J. Morris, my author for Strange Beast, recommends this. And it's just, let's see, a sharp-tongued folklorist must pair up with her academic rival to solve their mentor's murder in this lush and enthralling sapphic fantasy romance from the New York Times bestseller. So look, you say sapphic, I'm like, give it to me.
Wait,
Put it on.
did you read The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden?
No. Why don't I know this?
Okay, you honestly go to the store, buy it right now, and
The
read it before
Safekeep.
surgery.
Okay.
It's short. It is called The Safekeep by Yael van der Wooden. I have been calling it Sapphic, Call Me By Your Name.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay.
It's literary and slightly gothic and slightly mysterious. And honestly, as I said this to her when she was on Gaze Reading, I was like, I questioned my sexuality when I was reading some of these sex scenes because I was like, this is hot.
Wow. Oh,
I know.
wow. Thank you.
That is my gift to you.
Thank
Happy
you.
healing.
I'm going to be like hurt and horny.
Yes, exactly. That's what I call Tuesday. Okay, wait, what was this journey to your imprint? And then imprint to
Yes, my
Strange
baby.
Beast. Yes, tell us.
It's similar to my wife, Kate Fagan. I have led a very ambitious life, and I'm trying to dissect exactly what ambition means and does it make us happy? But I think, and you relate to this, I'm sure, I think if you are a creator and you are a creative person, it's impossible to not have ambitions because you have so much inside of you that you want to give to the world, that you want to put out. And so there's always in the back of my head, I've always wanted to be a novelist. But I've told myself the typical story, like, you can't do that. Those are for the gods. Only the touched can actually write novels. Because to me, it's just the most amazing thing in the world when someone can capture the magic of a story with beautiful words and put it on paper and change people's lives. It's just, wow, 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 wow. And to think that I could do that, oh no. So I've told myself that story my entire life, and I've only unraveled that in the past couple of years. Started the book club in 2020, like right before the world shut down.
Wow.
And I loved it so much that I was doing the podcast with Cate. We had free cookies and we were interviewing all these amazing authors and just really immersing ourselves in the literary world. And so I started to think, it would be amazing to publish books. Like me, I don't know if I have what it takes to write them, but what if I could publish them? And then Matt Kay, who's the founder of Bindery Books, he sent me on my info email, and the first one I didn't even get it, and he emailed me again, and I finally was like, okay. And we started this conversation, and he came from Patreon, and he had the background of, okay, community. And when we pull community together, and he saw what was happening on Book Talk and the power of these bookish folk being able to bump sales, he's, what if we create this community and publishing model where we take community, the power of community and the power of the people who are not interested in trends. They are interested in the stories that are hot and elevating stories that need to be heard. And we create something out of that. And I was like, yes. And a year later, I became an acquiring editor and I have my own imprint and it's crazy. It is. And I just thought this was going to be like a side gig. And now I'm full blown running 2 different businesses. And sometimes I'm like, what have I done to myself? But it is so rewarding. And publishing Strange Beasts, I've got my next one is coming out in October, another one in November. And it's just, they keep on coming now. And it is so amazing to highlight these debut authors who, the submission process, it is not easy. There is such a small percentage of people who can even get an agent and then get read and then acquired. And it just feels so good to know that I can somehow have a little piece of getting these beautiful voices into the world. It's thrilling.
That's so cool. And so Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris, I have heard is Arthur Conan Doyle meets Dracula?
Yes. So Sherlock Holmes and Dracula are 2 main characters. We have Helena Moriarty. So she's the daughter of the famed Moriarty. And then we have Samantha Harker, who's the daughter of Jonathan and Mina Harker from Dracula. And it's sapphic. Oh, yes. But it's slow burn. Think of your classic sapphic movies where, you know, they just like stare at each other for a long time and then their pinkies touch, like total lesbian stuff. That's what we do. It's set in turn of the century Paris and they monster hunt. And so they get sent to Paris to solve these beast murders where there's this almost like werewolf tearing apart men, only men in Paris. And they have to go through the catacombs and all of the nooks and crannies of Paris to find the murderer. And meanwhile, there's a slow burn romance happening through it all. It's fabulous. It's so good.
And speaking of fabulous queer books, we have not yet said that you may or may not be married to Kate Fagan, this episode's featured author, and her new book, The 3 Lives of Kate K.
It's wild.
It's wild.
So good. And the success that she's experiencing, y'all, I just being this close to the dream, like just watching it happen right in front of me. Wow. She's Reese's pick. She's book of the month. She's
book
Target.
Stupid. Come on.
Oh my God, Jason, when we went into the airport, we're starting tour. We're in Charleston. We go into our Hudson News and bam, it's right there. We're like, oh my God. And then we get to the next airport. Literally every airport, it's just there. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's just, how does this happen? I'm so proud of her. I am so proud of her. And it's also what I said earlier, we're trying to renegotiate our relationship to success. And it's honestly what her book is about too. Her book is about success. Her book is about ambition and the price that you pay. And getting to see this happen to her in real life. We were finishing up after the 5th event or whatever it was. And we got back to the hotel. I was like, so how does success feel? And she's honestly, I just want to be home with you and Ragnar. That's our dog. We don't have a tiny Viking at home. Just a dog. And
listen, if you did, no judgments.
Right. All of a sudden, this like half naked guy runs by being like, oh.
I was like, were those horns? What's going on?
My battle axe. Yeah. So it's been fascinating. And I think with authors, and you interview them all the time, and my experience too is so many of them are reclusive because they don't want this. They literally have chosen this career so they can stay behind the computer instead of being in front of the camera, and how you can build a successful career without needing to be on the road. And oh, wow. It's been unbelievable. But everybody, you have to read the book. It's so good. My wife is so talented. I'm so proud of her.
Because you are a reader, do you have any grievances you have to get off your chest right now?
Is the library open?
The library is open. Listen, this is just a safe space. If anyone has to,
Okay.
this is your time.
Yeah. Okay. I think the thing that really ruffles my feathers is when you see book influencers being like, these were the top 5 books that I hated. And they just, and I know that kind of like the library is open and that's the whole point. But look, do you know how hard it is to write a book? These people, even if it totally sucks, and look, yeah, some of them, I get it. They do, or it's not your cup of tea. But to just trash someone's work, I can't. And then they tag the people. What are you doing? It makes me so mad. But even the ranking system on Goodreads, I'm like, we need more specificity. You are only allowed to give below 3 stars if you write a corresponding review to specifically say why you feel this way. I think it's cruel and unusual.
I have my issues with the website that you order things from that shall not be named. However, I will say it is great that it like tells you that there's a verified purchase.
Yes.
This person actually
Not
has
just a
purchased.
hater. Yes.
Yeah. No, I feel this. And also, it just isn't for you.
And
Somebody read it and it got published, so
know.
clearly people like it.
Oh my God, I
Period.
have to read you something. And I'm going to try to find it really fast because it's a
Great.
meme that was sent to me the other day. Okay, ready? All right. One reason why you very rarely see me complaining that the actions of a fictional character don't make sense is because every single day I look back at my own choices in life and realize I'm just not qualified to judge that. And
Yes.
that's been an insecurity for my wife because people keep saying that the characters in her book are messy. And she jokes, and maybe she talked to you about this. I didn't think they were messy when I was writing them. I'm just writing people making real decisions, which are often not smart. And
Right.
as a real person, you just don't put it out into the world. And so some of the reviews have been like, I don't like these characters. They are like doing horrible things. Those are real people.
Yeah.
Like,
And
you know,
it's
real
not
story.
Kate's job to judge her characters either.
Yes.
Right.
And so that's another thing where people complain about that. I'm like, okay, it's just not for you. Doesn't
Right.
mean it's a bad book. It's just not for you.
And also, it's fiction.
I know. Well, do we want to read a book about someone who made really good decisions and is a great person who like donates and flosses? Boring.
Let's also say it's important to floss, but you're
Whatever.
right. Who does it every single day?
Every day.
Literally no one. Come on. No, but absolutely. And because if somebody read that, they would say, that's not real life. No one's that perfect. So you can't make everybody happy. But I think you're absolutely right. Somebody read it. It was for somebody. It got published. Period. You could just say it's not for you. And that is okay.
And you know who it is for? Reese motherfucking Witherspoon, okay? Ben
Period.
and Snap.
and the gajillions of Target shoppers around the world. So
God bless
jokes on everybody
Target.
else.
I know, right? Wow.
Yes. Kathryn, this has been so much fun.
I know. I'm so glad I'm connected with you.
Oh, me
Okay,
too.
we're gonna make a dinner happen, and you're not gonna combust. And I'm like really short in real life, so you'll be like, "Where is she? Oh, she's down there. Okay, that takes her down a little bit."
Okay. I'm 6'2", so that'll make me, I will
Yeah.
feel.
I will fit into your armpit. It'll be perfect.
Oh, good. I wear deodorant, so
That was my next question.
no
Natural
worries. No
or
worries.
the hardcore kind?
Not the hardcore kind, because like the aluminums are real.
Don't do it to yourself.
No.
No. I
Mine
use the
are always
activated
aluminum
charcoal
free.
one. Same.
Yes.
Same.
Yes. I'm not sponsored by Schmitz, but I should be because I'm a very huge supporter of them.
I love
Schmitz, if
it.
you're anyone from Schmitz, if you're listening.
You want to help out this podcast, okay?
I know. I make $0, Schmitz. I will happily take any amount of money from you. Thank you for joining me on Gaze Reading.
You-
Kathryn Budig. It is Budig, right?
Yes, you said
Okay.
it. No one says it right. Wow, bravo.
Just making sure. Great.
Bravo.
Everyone go check out Strange Beasts, which is her baby, the book that she's published in her imprint. And also, where can the people find you and your House of Things?
Yes. The easiest is just to go to kathrynbudig.com because that'll connect you to everything. And then there's the House of Phoenix. It's HAUS because we fancy like that. And then
Yes,
the
it's like
Inky
going
Phoenix.
to a shop, SHOPPE.
Yes, get it.
Of course. Where did you buy the House of Phoenix book? At the bookshop, eh?
At the shop.
Amazing. KathrynBudig.com. It'll be in the show notes. Everyone go check it out. And obviously, the 3 Lives of Kate K.
Get it.
Fabulous.
Do the right thing. It's going to make you happy. And if you don't like it, don't talk about it on the reviews, okay?
Thanks, Kathryn. Thanks, Kate. Everyone, again, thank you so much for joining me today. Sending good vibes to everybody. Links to all of the things are in the show notes. Take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you next week. Bye.